Hello all, welcome to Narayana IAS Academy. This is Sureka Bhaskar presenting to you the daily news analysis. So for today's discussion, we've picked up a number of topics from The Hindu and the Indian Express which are both important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. Now let us have a look at the topics one by one. The first article has been taken from page number 6 of The Hindu, Many Elections, AI's Dark Dimension. So this actually talks about India's fast approaching general elections and the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the electoral dynamics of our country. So moving forward, the second article has also been taken from The Hindu, page number 12, Marathon Operation by Indian Navy. IAF led to pirate surrender. So this actually talks about the successful attempt of the Indian Navy to foil the attempts of the Somalian pirates to use a hijacked merchant ship to launch the pirate attacks on the other ships. Moving forward, the third article has been taken from page number 8 of The Hindu, that is the problem of equity in IPCC reports. Here we'll be discussing very important concepts such as the emission scenarios, the representative concentration pathways, as well as radiative forcing, which are important for the prelims examination. Moving forward, the fourth article has been taken from page number 5 of The Hindu, Kerala to move Supreme Court on President's withholding of bills. So this particular article discusses about the Kerala government actually likely to challenge before the Supreme Court the provisions or the power of the president in order to withhold his assent for certain bills that have been passed recently in the Kerala legislature. And the last article of discussion has been taken from page number 11 of the Indian Express. What is SIMA? Google's Deepmind's new artificial intelligence that can play video games. So this, as the title suggests, we'll be discussing about SIMA, a new artificial intelligence agent that has actually been revealed by Deepmind, which is a subsidiary or an artificial intelligence company that works as subsidiary to Google. So finally, we will actually end the discussions by solving few prelims as well as the mains practice questions. Embark on your UPSC journey with Narayana IAS Academy. Our esteemed 5-year and 3-year integrated programs are now open for admissions in Hyderabad, Vijayawada and Nellore. Our courses include robust research and development backed initiatives such as our daily news analysis, which gives us a comprehensive view program for a broader understanding of current affairs. Our NCERT program, a foundational course that covers all NCERT syllabus, which is crucial for the UPSC preparation. And followed by this, our mentorship program for personalized guidance and regular test series for systematic learning and assessment is available for your subscription. So begin your journey to becoming a leader with Narayana IAS Academy today. The first article for the day, Many Elections, AI's Dark Dimension. So as we all know that India's general elections are fast approaching, the role of artificial intelligence in changing the electoral dynamics has become the focal point of discussion here. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about what is the role of artificial intelligence in elections, and artificial intelligence actually forms a part of this discussion basically, and we can actually map this to GS paper 2 under the mains examination, as we have the topics such as transparency and accountability, salient features of the Representation of People's Act, and under GS paper 3, science and technology and its applications and effects in everyday life. So moving forward, if we actually see, there has been a recent pre-YQ, that is in 2023, there was a question in the mains examination regarding the concept of artificial intelligence and its applications in the healthcare sector. And similarly, it is actually important in order to prepare the content on governance, that is the application of artificial intelligence in governance, environment, as well as entertainment, etc. Okay. So moving forward, let us actually understand what this particular article is actually talking about. So, as India approaches its general elections, the role of artificial intelligence in shaping the electoral dynamics has become a focal point of discussion. So, over here, we'll be understanding what is the application of artificial intelligence and how is it actually changing the dynamics of the electoral system in India. Okay. The rapid advancement of artificial intelligence technology, it is actually both a boon and a bane, as it actually provides a number of opportunities, at the same time a number of challenges for the integrity of this electoral process. Okay. So, as AI's capabilities actually expand over time, it has the potential to strengthen the democracy. How? Through enhanced efficiency as well as security of specifically the systems like the elections. However, there are also critical concerns about misinformation, about voter manipulation, cybersecurity risks, as well as algorithmic biases that can actually undermine the concept of free and fair elections as enshrined in the Constitution of India. So moving forward, now let us understand few of the benefits of incorporating artificial intelligence in elections. Okay, the first one is it enhances electoral transparency. How? For instance, the Bihar Election Commission's partnership with STAC in 2021, it utilized AI for video analytics during the counting of votes. The second one is it is actually helpful in efficient vote counting, that is the optical character recognition, that is the OCR, as well as the machine learning algorithms. This can quickly as well as accurately tally the votes, and thereby this actually minimizes the human error and speeding up the declaration of the results. Okay. So moving forward, the next advantage is that there is easy detection of election fraud, if any, that is committed during the process. That is, AI tools can monitor and analyze the election-related data in real time in order to identify irregular patterns or any kind of anomalies that are observed, which are indicative of fraud. And the next one is improved voter registration. That is, artificial intelligence can streamline the registration of voters over a period of time and identify the process, ensuring a more inclusive electoral role. Now moving forward, we have actually seen the significance or how it has actually helped in enhancing the effectiveness as well as the security of the electoral process. Now let us see some of the major threats that have been posed by artificial intelligence in elections. Okay. The first one is deep fakes as well as synthetic media. What are deep fakes? It is a technology that can actually create highly realistic fake videos, audios, as well as images, and this actually impersonates political candidates or public figures, and this actually spreads the misinformation and it also influences the voter behavior. For example, in 2019 general election, we actually had a deepfake video of a political leader who had actually passed derogatory remarks about religious minorities, and that actually influenced the voter perceptions about that political leader. The next one is micro-targeting and voter manipulation. Okay, so AI algorithms can analyze vast amount of voter data, including the demographics, that is which particular age they actually belong to, online behavior, as well as the psychographic profiles. Okay, and this actually enables them to micro-target the individuals with personalized messages which are tailored on the basis of their vulnerabilities. For example, if you are a voter who is of the age demographic of 18 or 21 years, that is you are actually searching for enrollment for education or in search of a job, what happens? The micro-targeting actually targets you and provides you the details of all the schemes that are run by the current government or the opposition party, what they have actually done for you and what they will be doing if voted to power. So this is how they will actually influence our voter behavior. So example, if you see Cambridge Analytica's use of AI-driven micro-targeting techniques, and this actually is set to influence the voter behavior during the 2016 US presidential elections and also the referendum regarding Brexit. Okay. So moving forward, the next threat is automated misinformation campaigns. That is, there are AI-powered bots and automated systems that can rapidly generate and disseminate misinformation, any kind of fake news, as well as propaganda at an unprecedented scale. For example, if you see during the 2016 US elections, there were Russian-linked bots as well as trolled farms used AI in order to spread divisive as well as polarized content on social media platforms. Okay. And next one is it actually causes a lot of cyber security risk. That is, AI can enhance the capabilities of cyber attackers, enabling them to breach the election infrastructure such as the databases of the voters who are there, the ballot systems that have been registered so far, as well as the tabulation software. The next one is algorithmic bias as well as discrimination. That is, AI algorithms which are used in the election process may inadvertently perpetuate some kind of biases and can discriminate against certain groups because of their flawed data or biased training process. Okay, that is, these algorithms are trained in such a way that they actually spread fake or malinformation about a particular political party or a political person. Now let us actually see what are the legal challenges in dealing with AI generated misinformation in elections. Okay, so the legal challenges actually include, the first one is lack of clear definition. That is, there is no universally accepted definition of what is fake news or what is misinformation. So this is actually very challenging to legislate any kind, of a framework against AI generated. That is, AI legislations must actually strike a balance against addressing the harm which is caused by such kind of content, and also uphold the freedom of, right to freedom of speech and expression of the voters. The next one is jurisdiction as well as cross-border challenges. This essentially talks about any kind of AI generated, misinformation, can actually originate and can end, and the, expanse of which it actually covers is actually huge. Okay, so this creates jurisdictional challenges in enforcing any kind of domestic laws against foreign entities and foreign individuals. Against foreign entities. The next one is rapid technological evolution. Okay, so with the rapid pace at which the artificial intelligence is actually growing of late, by the time you actually, devise or design a particular regulatory framework in order to contain the same, the growth would actually had outpaced the ability of the lawmakers in order to devise such a legislation. So moving forward, let us actually see what are some of the way forwards as well as recommendations in order to have a controlled pace of growth or involvement of AI in the electoral dynamics. The first one is we have to enact comprehensive legislation. That is, in order to address the use of AI and deepfake technology in the electoral process, it should clearly define what constitutes unacceptable and what is actually acceptable. So AI generated misinformation and establish penalties for the violations as such. Next one is consent mechanisms have to be there. That is, voters should have control over their data with very clear options of opting out or opting in of data collections and the micro-targeting practices. Okay. Next one is there has to be an dedicated AI monitoring as well as response unit, okay, which will actually be specialized in monitoring, in detecting as well as responding to any kind of AI generated misinformation and deepfakes. The next step is data minimization. That is, the collection of data must always be limited to what is necessary for specific electoral processes, reducing the risk of misuse. Okay. Moving on, the next one is promote media literacy as well as voter education. That is, there is a lot of necessity in order to invest in comprehensive media literacy as well as voter education campaigns, and this is done for the purpose of what? To raise public awareness about the potential risk of artificial intelligence and the artificial intelligence related misinformation as well as deepfakes. So the next article we'll be discussing about is marathon operation by the Indian Navy. IAF led to pirate surrender. So this particular article talks about the successful fleet of the Indian Navy in foiling an attempt made by the Somalian pirates to use a hijacked merchant vessel in order to launch the piracy attack on the other ships. So this particular article will be discussing about maritime piracy as a larger perspective, and it is a part of non-traditional security threats, and we can map this particular topic under GS paper 3 for the mains examination under role of external state and non-state actors in creating challenges to internal security. Okay, so moving forward, we also have a previous year question in the year 2014 that had actually asked about the longitudinal marking of the risk areas of piracy, and what does this actually have an impact on, or what impact it will have on India's maritime security concerns. So maritime security as such is an important topic, especially India's maritime security paradigm and what are the measures it actually takes is very, very important, especially for your mains examination. Now let us understand what this particular article is talking about. Recently, the Indian Navy has successfully foiled or arrested an attempt made by the Somalian pirates to utilize the hijacked merchant ship as a platform to launch piracy attacks against the other ships. Now, moving ahead, let us actually understand what are the chronology of events and how swiftly or rapidly that the Indian Navy sprang into action. And after that, we will understand this concept of maritime piracy. Okay. So moving forward, let us actually understand. So looking at this map, it is important to know the locations of these, hotspots of maritime piracy. So this time the hotspot has been Socotra, which is actually, a Yemeni island, which is so many kilometers off the coast of Somalia. So here, this is Socotra, and surrounding it are the regions of Yemen, Oman, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, Somalia, as well as India. Okay. So now let us actually understand the chronology of events that actually led to the rapid action by the Indian Navy. First, what happens is on December 14, 2023, the Malta flagged vessel, which was named the MV Ruin, was actually attacked or hijacked by a number of pirates near the Yemeni island, and the Yemeni island was Socotra, which is located at 240 kilometers off the coast of Somalia. So following this distress call, what happened? The Indian Navy actually rapidly or swiftly responded to the distress call, and it actually diverted all its naval, maritime patrol aircraft as well as warships for assistance towards this particular region. Okay. And after that, in March 14, 2024, the Indian Navy actually, through a coordinated effort, wanted to, it actually involved a lot of, drones, Navy vessels, as well as maritime commandos. This actually forced the pirate ship to actually stop approximately 2,600 kilometers off the Indian coast. And then this particular ship was actually sanitized for any kind of illegal arms, any kind of ammunition, as well as any kind of contraband, which is an illegal substances. Okay. Then finally, after few days, that is after a couple of days, on March 16, 2024, INS Kolkata had actually ensured that the pirates actually surrendered, and the crew was actually rescued very safely, and the safe evacuation was ensured, and all this actually happened after 40 hours of operation. Okay. So moving forward, now let us understand what is maritime piracy. So maritime piracy is actually a criminal act or any kind of criminal acts that are committed on the high seas. Okay. High seas are beyond so many kilometers of the EEZ. Okay. So this actually involves a lot of activities or things like robbery, hijacking, and kidnapping for ransom. And India's Maritime Anti-Piracy Act of 2022, that is MAPA, it defines piracy as any kind of illegal act of violence, detention, or destruction against a particular ship or a particular aircraft, person, or property for private purposes by the crew or passengers of a private ship or aircraft. Okay. So, piracy also includes inciting and intentionally facilitating such acts of violence and voluntarily participating in the operation of a pirate ship or aircraft. And this definition is in line with the definition of piracy under Article 101 of UNCLOS, that is the United Nations Convention on the Laws of Seas. Now, let us actually understand what is the International Maritime Bureau's annual piracy and armed robbery report actually talks about this particular piracy. Okay. So, there have been, it has actually observed, that is this particular report has observed increase in incidences of piracy, that is around 120 incidences had been in 2023, and this is actually has increased from the past 115 incidences in the previous year, that is 2022, and this actually marks almost 4.3% of increase year on year. Moving on, also such kind of maritime piracy actually leads to economic impacts, that is it is estimated to cost around $4.9 billion, and it had costed in 2023. Now, if we see the regional hotspots of such piracy that is taking place across the world, we can see the first one is Gulf of Guinea, where 37 incidences are actually taken place, and this remains world's piracy hotspot. Okay. Followed by that, we have Singapore Straits, that is Strait of Malacca, etc. And there has been a significant increase to 35 incidents in 2023, and this has gone up from the previous 21 incident in the year 2022. Next one, if we see, there has been a resurgence in Somali-based piracy. That is, it was first successful hijacking actually took place in 2023 after the period of 2017. So moving forward, if you actually look at this particular map, we can see the, areas which are of high vulnerability. For example, Gulf of Guinea, which has 43% of the attack, followed by Horn of Africa, where there are actually 30% of attacks. And also if we see over here, Strait of Malacca, which actually attributes to 19% of piracy attacks. So moving forward, let us actually understand India's vulnerability to maritime piracy. The first one is strategic location near piracy-prone areas. Of course, towards the east we have Malacca Straits, and towards the west we have the Somalia as well as the Guinea coast. So we are actually close to Gulf of Aden, Somali coast as well as Malacca Strait. So our strategic location is actually near these piracy-prone areas. The next one is we depend on, these seas for our maritime trade, because overall 90% of the trade by volume and about 70% of trade by value takes place via sea for India. Then moving forward, if we see, we have energy security concerns also, because if we see, these maritime routes are significant oil imports, okay? And this actually happens through the piracy affected areas, and for oil as well as energy, we are extremely or on a higher scale dependent on the Middle East as well as the African countries. So moving forward, we also have vulnerable fishing communities. That is, Indian fishing boats in the Indian Ocean region are always vulnerable to attacks, as we would have seen this in the news. And also they lack means to defend against the armed pirates. And what is another, added advantage for the pirates is that there is an increasing case of sophistication for the pirates, where they use the advanced technology to evade and capture, because drones are actually used these days, okay, to actually launch any kind of pirate attack against a merchant vehicle. And also they target larger vessels for ransom. So moving forward, let us understand what is India's multi-pronged approach to combat maritime piracy. The first one is there is the deployment of naval forces as well as patrols. That is proactive patrolling by the Indian Navy, particularly in the Gulf of Aden region, and independent deployments apart from participating in multinational combined maritime forces operation. The next one is international cooperation and partnership. This is nothing but participation in initiatives like Djibouti Code of Conduct and the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium to foster regional cooperation on maritime security is what India has done in the past. And also collaboration with other countries which are affected by piracy in order to share intelligence and coordinate efforts. Followed by that, we have few of the legal measures, such as the enactment of the MAPA, that is Maritime Anti-Piracy Act of 2022. Very, very important for the examination. This provides a robust legal framework for prosecuting the pirates apprehended in the Indian waters by the Indian authorities. Moving forward, let's actually conclude this article by discussing the key provisions of India's Maritime Anti-Piracy Act of 2022, that is the MAPA Act. First one, it actually enables the Indian authorities to act against the piracy in the high seas. So if you see this particular map, high seas is this region which is actually beyond the EEZ, okay, EEZ of India, which is actually along the 7,516 kilometers, which is the coastline of India, okay. So this includes all the 13 coastal states as well as union territories, and this extends to around 200 nautical miles. So this is the exclusive economic zone, beyond which we actually have the high seas. So what does this MAPA Act actually say? It enables the Indian authorities to act against the piracy in the high seas, and it brings into law the United Nations Convention on the Laws of Seas. It applies to the area of sea beyond the EEZ, that is beyond 200 nautical miles from the Indian coastline. Next one is participating, organizing, aiding, supporting, attempting to commit as well as directing others to participate in the act of piracy is actually punishable with around 14 years of imprisonment and a fine according to the provisions of this particular act. The next article that we'll be discussing about is the problem of equity in IPCC reports. So this particular report per se is not that important for the examination, but what is important is that few concepts that it actually throws light on. The concepts like emission scenario, then representative concentration pathways, as well as the radiative forcing, etc. have actually been discussed in this particular article. So here we'll understand this because they might be asked in your prelims prelims examination. So moving forward, we'll be discussing representative concentration pathways and other such concepts under climate change in this particular article. And this entire topic can be mapped to climate change under prelims for your UPSC examination, as well as a GS paper 3 environmental pollution and degradation for your mains examination. So moving forward, let us actually understand that there has been a previous year question in the year 2022 on climate action tracker, whether it is a database or whether it is a wing of the International Panel of Climate Change, or whether it is an agency or a committee. Okay, so any kind of association or bodies, or the COP, that is the Conference of Parties, India's commitments, its outcomes, etc., are very, very important with respect to that of the examination. Specifically, the topic of climate change as a whole is very, very important for your exam. Now let us understand what this particular article is talking about. So the article actually discusses certain important concepts such as the emission scenarios, representative concentration pathways, as well as the radiative forcing. So first, let us understand what is the concept of emission scenario. Okay. So, as the name actually suggests, emission scenarios are the pathways that actually tell us about the emissions of the greenhouse gases as well as the aerosols that are actually emitted due to the anthropogenic activities over time. Okay, so these kind of emission scenarios or the pathways are actually utilized by the scientists in their climatic models, which actually will give them the idea of the future global temperatures or the sea level rise or associated global warming activities. And here there are actually different methods that are used for determining this particular emission scenario. However, the recently used approach is the representative concentration pathway. So now we've actually understood what is the emission scenario. Moving on, now let us understand what is the representative concentration pathway. But before that, there is an important concept that is called as radiative forcing that has to be understood. Okay, so now let us move on to understand what is radiative forcing. So all of us are actually aware, if we look at this picture, we are aware of the fact that there is an incoming solar radiation from the sun that actually reaches the surface of the earth. The earth actually absorbs the short wave radiations and it re-radiates heat in the form of long wave radiations. However, this entire re-radiated long wave radiations actually does not escape the space, but they are actually absorbed by the greenhouse gases such as the carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, etc., which are present in the atmosphere. So this actually increases the temperature of the earth further. So this is what is called as radiative forcing. That is nothing but the difference between the incoming solar radiation and the amount of light that is re-radiated back to the atmosphere. Okay, so now let us actually understand what is radiative forcing. So it is the difference between the sunlight that is absorbed by the earth and the energy that is re-radiated back to the space. And here it is of two types, that is when it has been observed more and it actually causes increased heating, then it is called as positive radiative forcing, which also means that there are increased presence of the greenhouse gases. Okay, so that is why there is more absorption, that is the re-radiated emissions are also, or the re-radiated energy is also absorbed by these CO2, etc., thereby increasing the temperature. So that is called as a positive radiative forcing, which actually in turn leads to warming, while negative forcing leads to cooling. And this entire radiative forcing is actually measured in terms of watts per square meter. So this is actually the measurement. And what is the biggest contributor of the positive radiative forcing is the presence of greenhouse gas emissions. We actually read about it. And when the concentration of the greenhouse gas emissions increase, they absorb and trap more of this infrared radiation which are emitted from the Earth's surface, preventing it from radiating into space. And this actually causes radiative warming at the surface of the Earth. Now let us understand what is this representative concentration pathways. Okay, so representative concentration pathways specify what is the concentration of the greenhouse gases which are actually present that will result in so and so amount of total radiative forcing by the year 2100 relative to the pre-industrial levels. Okay, so this particular concept has been introduced in the 5th assessment report, that is AR5 of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, that is IPCC. And there are 4 pathways, that is RCP 8.5, RCP 6, 4.5 and 2.6. Okay, so this actually means that there will be an RCP, that is representative concentration pathway, of 2.6 watt per meter square by the year 2100 if X amount of greenhouse gas concentration is actually present. So that is the meaning of it. Okay, so first, if we actually talk about RCP 2.6, which is nothing but it is a low emission scenario. This represents that there are stringent mitigation scenarios that are actually taking place in an economy, and when this is actually followed, the emissions will actually peak around 2020 and then it will rapidly decline. And likely this actually requires massive effort in order to remove the greenhouse gases from the atmosphere in order to limit the warming to 2 degrees Celsius above the pre-industrial levels. Similarly, the next one, RCP 4.5, this actually means it is an intermediate scenario where the emissions will likely to peak around 2040 and then it will actually decline. And here it stabilizes radiator forcing at 4.5 by 2100 only if ambitious emission reductions are actually taking place. Moving forward, the next one is RCP 6. Okay, so this is nothing but it is a stabilization scenario where emissions is set to peak around 2080 and then actually decline. And here it stabilizes radiator forcing at 6 by 2100. And the last one is RCP 8.5, which is nothing but the high emission scenario, which is very high greenhouse gas emissions that actually leads to continued rapid warming. And this represents that a future which actually has no policy changes to reduce emissions, and this will actually result in the apocalypse. And now if you actually see at this particular graph, you can actually understand representative concentration pathways. Here if you see on the y-axis, there is concentration equivalent of carbon dioxide in parts per million, and along the x-axis you actually have the years. And these particular lines actually talks about your representative concentration pathway 8.5, 6, 4.5 as well as 2.6. And over here along the x-axis you have the year, and towards the y-axis you have change in the average global temperature. Okay, so here this red color line actually represents that RCP 8.5 where there is a scenario of high global emissions. Okay, similarly you have RCP 4.5 which is represented here, which is moderate global emissions, as well as RCP 2.6 which is low global emission scenario. The next article that we'll be discussing about is Kerala to move Supreme Court on President withholding the bill. So this particular article discusses about the Kerala government which is likely to challenge before the Supreme Court the legality of the President's power to withhold the assent of the bills that have been recently passed by the Kerala legislature. So in this particular article, we'll be discussing about the powers of the President and the Governor over the state bills, as it actually forms an important part of the state legislature. And we can actually map this entire topic to Indian polity under prelims and GS paper 2 mains, which actually can be mapped under parliament and state legislatures. Okay. So moving ahead, there has been a previous year question in the year 2018 that has asked about the exercise of the powers of the President under Article 356 of the Constitution. So from here, you can actually understand any kind of constitutional post, the exercise of their powers and the provisions as enshrined in the Constitution becomes very, very important, especially with respect to that of the prelims examination. Moving forward, now let us understand what this particular article discusses about. So as we saw, Kerala will actually soon be challenging the legality of the President's power of withholding the assent for the bill that were passed in the Kerala legislature recently before the Supreme Court. Okay. So now let us actually understand background of this particular news. So the President had actually withheld assent to few of the bills of the 7 bills that were referred to him. Okay. So the withheld of the assent was actually given to the Kerala University Laws Amendment Number 2 Bill 2022, University Law Amendment Bill 2022 and the University Law Amendment Bill of 2021 of the total 7 bills that were referred to him in November 2023. And this move of the Kerala government, that is challenging the powers of the President to hold or withheld the assent of the bill against or in the Supreme Court, actually opens the doors for a debate regarding the scope of judicial review of the Supreme Court over the decisions of the President of India. So moving forward, it is actually important to understand what are the constitutional provisions on the powers of the governor as well as the president over the state bills. Okay. So as per Article 200 of the Constitution, it actually outlines the procedure for a state bill which has to be presented to the governor for assent. So once a bill is actually presented to the governor, he has few options. That is, he can actually either give assent to the bill, or he can withhold his assent to the bill, or he can return the bill to the state legislature for reconsideration of certain provisions of the bill. So here you can actually understand, it is very important to understand that the money bill cannot be sent back to the parliament for reconsideration or to the state legislature for reconsideration. And also, if the bill is sent back by the house to the governor without any kind of changes, then it is obligatory, or the governor is obliged to give his assent to that particular bill. Okay. So now this next condition, that is the next option that the governor can resort to, is reserve the particular bill for the consideration by the president. Okay. So here the governor can reserve a bill for the president's consideration if in case it endangers the position of the state high court, or it is against the constitution, or it is against the DPSP, that is the Directive Principles of State Policy, or against the larger interest of the country, or of any grave national importance. And similarly, Article 201 of the Constitution, it states that when a bill is reserved for the consideration of the president, then the president may give assent to the bill or can withhold the assent from the bill. And also, the president may direct the governor to return the bill to the house or the houses of legislatures of the state for reconsideration. And also, it is very, very important to know that the time limit within which the president must actually decide regarding a bill which was reserved by the governor for his consideration is not mentioned anywhere in the Constitution. Now, let us actually understand what have been the observations of the Supreme Court with regards to the same. So, a Supreme Court bench had actually recently clarified that, yes, it acknowledged the fact that the Constitution does not impose any kind of time limit on the governor, okay, under which he actually has to give assent to the bill. But at the same time, the governor must actually honor the will of the legislature and must actually act in harmony with the Council of Ministers. And also, the Supreme Court actually observed that any kind of delay in giving assent to the bill either by the governor or the president, which is in his discretion, will be against the spirit of Constitution. The next article that we'll be discussing about is what is SIMA, Google Deepmind's new artificial intelligence that can play video games. So as the title suggests, this particular article talks about Google's Deepmind. That is nothing but it is an artificial intelligence company that has recently revealed its latest AI gaming agent named SIMA, that actually stands for Scalable Instructable Multi-World Agent, and this actually has the capability of following the natural instructions or natural language instructions in order to play video games with human beings. Okay, so it basically behaves like a virtual buddy. Okay, so now it is actually fascinating as it sounds. Here we'll be understanding what this particular AI agent SIMA, and it is an important or an integral part of artificial intelligence, and this can be mapped to GS paper 3 main science and technology developments and their applications and their effects in everyday life. So moving on to the previous year question, there has been a question in 2020 which directly asked about the applications of artificial intelligence. So, if you know what is artificial intelligence, what is generative AI, and what are their applications in different fields like, medicines as well as, environment, now coming to entertainment like video games, all these are very, very, very important for your mains as well as your prelims examination. So, moving forward, let us actually understand what this particular article is discussing about. Okay. So, Google's Deepmind, which is an artificial intelligence company, has revealed its latest AI gaming agent, which is actually called as SIMA, or Scalable Instructable Multi-World Agent, which can follow natural language instructions to play a video game with that of human beings. Okay, so here the takeaway from this article is, apart from the characteristic features of SIMA and what it is capable of, we need to understand what is the difference between an AI model as well as an AI agent. Okay. So, moving forward, let us understand about this SIMA. So, SIMA is an artificial intelligence agent which is definitely different from that of the AI models like OpenAI's ChatGPT as well as Google's Gemini. Okay. So, moving forward, what is an AI model? AI models are trained on a vast data set and are limited when it actually comes to the working on their own. Okay. So, self-working or thinking is actually very, it is impossible for an AI model. So, the AI model actually includes ChatGPT, Bard, Claude, Gemini, etc. Whereas if you see AI agent, they can process the data and can take action on themselves. So this SIMA is actually one such generalist AI agent, and that is actually capable of doing different kinds of tasks. So it is like a virtual buddy, as I already told you, who can understand and follow instructions in all kinds of virtual environments, from exploring mysterious dungeons in order to build lavish castles also. It can actually be employed, and this can accomplish tasks or solve challenges that are assigned to it in any kind of environment. So moving forward, let us understand the working of this particular AI. So SIMA actually understands our commands as it has been trained to process the human language. So if we actually direct it or give a command asking it to build a castle or to find a treasure chest, then it understands what exactly that means, okay? And also it is capable of learning and adapting to all kinds of environments, and slowly it's starting its venture in this entertainment field, that is the video games. So SIMA does this through the interactions that it actually has with the user. That is, the more number of interactions you actually have with it, the more smarter it actually becomes with its experience over time. So the more we interact with SIMA, the smarter it actually gets by learning from its experiences, and this actually improves over time. And this makes it better at understanding as well as fulfilling the user requests. And now if you see the current stage of AI development, we do not have this particular feature, right? But SIMA actually has it. So based on the current stage of AI development, it is a big feat for an artificial intelligence system to be able to play a game. And however, SIMA goes beyond that and can follow instructions in a variety of game settings. That is, it's not restricted to any one kind. So this could potentially introduce more helpful AI agents in other environments also. You can actually use it for medicine, that is healthcare. We can use it for the purpose of governance, for media, entertainment, etc. Let's solve few prelims as well as mains practice question. The first question reads, consider the following statements. AI agents lack the ability to interact with the users and understand the natural language commands. This is wrong. AI models can learn from interactions with users and adapt to all kinds of environments. This is also wrong because it is actually interchanged. Both AI models and agents require predefined inputs to produce the outputs. This is actually correct. So going by only statement 3 is actually correct. So the answer will be option D. The second question reads, representative concentration pathways sometimes mentioned in news are in the context of, they are atmospheric carbon dioxide modeling. So going by this particular option, the answer is option B. So the third question reads, consider the following statements. If the governor returns a bill to the state legislature for reconsideration and if the bill is sent back by the house without any change, the government shall not withhold the assent to that bill. This particular statement is correct. The second statement reads, when a bill is reserved by the governor for consideration of the president, there is no specified time limit within which the president must decide on the particular bill. This is also correct. So going by these two options, then the answer will be option C, that is both 1 and 2. The fourth question actually reads, arrange the following Indian Ocean islands in the north-south order. So first will be Socotra Islands, followed by Seychelles, followed by Comoros as well as Reunion. So going by this order, the answer will be option D. So this is a map question which is very, very important. So going to the final prelims question with reference to radiative forcing, which of the following statements are not correct? This is very important. So, it represents the difference between the sunlight absorbed by the earth and the energy radiated back to space. Yes, this is correct. Positive radiative forcing leads to cooling. So, this is actually wrong. The next statement is, it is measured in watts per meter cube. This is also wrong because it's watts per meter square. So, going by these particular options, since only statement 1 is correct, the answer will be option B, that is 2 and 3, which are wrong. Now let us actually solve the mains practice question, which reads, examine the potential impacts of artificial intelligence on the electoral process in democratic societies, discuss the major challenges which are posed by artificial intelligence in this regard, and propose measures to mitigate this risk, 15 marks. So the approach answer to this particular question has been divided into three, that is introduction, body as well as conclusion. In the introduction, we will introduce basically how, AI is actually growing and its increasing role in modern societies and expanding influence on the electoral process in democratic countries. And in the body, we will actually discuss about on how AI can enhance the electoral transparency, efficiency, voter management, etc., offering examples like how, AI was used in Bihar elections for accurate counting of votes, etc. Then we will move on to discuss the major challenges posed, such as the deep fakes, then synthetic media, micro-targeting, voter manipulation, then different kinds of risk associated with that of cybersecurity, etc. Finally, we'll actually list down the measures to mitigate the risk, including comprehensive legislation, transparency and accountability in AI algorithms, as well as creating public awareness and education. Finally, we will conclude this particular answer by reiterating the dual nature of AI's impact, that is its opportunities as well as the challenges on the election processes, and also stress the importance of proactive measures to ensure that AI serves to support rather than undermine the integrity and fairness of the democratic election process. With this, we have come to the end of the DNA discussion. So for regular updates, please do like, share and subscribe to Narayana IAS Academy YouTube channel. Thank you.